Alright, we're back to do some analysis work with our video once we've got it all kind of plotted out and scale set. I do have one thing that we want to do with our video before we go. We're going to go from our options menu down to our movie options. And this is a nice frame in here because what we want to do is we want to make our first measured point to define the zero time for our graph. So that's going to be one of the checks that I want to make sure I do. There's a couple of features here, so if you happen to have two objects moving in a frame, you can actually check the box here to allow multiple points per frame. So in other words, we could track two objects at the same time. The other thing that we may want to do is at some point we may want to override the frame rate. You can see that our current frame rate was at 15 frames roughly per second. If we have a high-speed camera, we could then check this to actually make it be more frames per second so that we could do that. I'm going to go ahead and say OK on this. And so there's our graph at this point in time. We do have a couple of features here. The y-axis right now currently is showing the red dots to be the x position and the blue dots are the y position. I'm going to only isolate and look at one of these. So I just want to look at the x position so I can see what's going on. Okay. Again, it's a position time graph. You can see that I started here at rest, but then I started to pick up some speed, and then once I got going, I started to walk at a constant pace. And that's kind of what I'd like to look at, is what is this constant pace that I'm walking at. So if I highlight a number of these points that look like they're in a nice line, this would give me my speed, and then all I have to do is click on my linear fit tool, and the linear fit tool automatically figures out the slope of this line. And you can see that it says that the slope of the line was 1.511 meters per second. So that's my rate at which I was walking along that straight line. So there's my slope there. So that's one of the tools that I can do. I'm going to go ahead and close that. There's another one that allows me to do a tangent line. Okay, so the tangent line allows me to kind of go this way. So it's checking the slope as I move in my video. So you can see here's where it's going to measure the slope. So it's flat there, which is showing that I'm going at about close to 0 meters per second. I then start to move, and you can see my slope is increasing. And the nice thing is that this tool syncs my video to where I'm at, so you can see that my slope is maintaining that almost constant speed through there. Okay, and that's the slope tool. The next thing I want to do is maybe I noticed that I was picking up speed through here, so in other words, this is an acceleration. Maybe I want to analyze this. Okay, so I'm going to do a different fit on this information. This is more of a curve, so I'm going to do a curve fit. And the curve fit allows me to choose what I'm going to look at. And I'll probably do this as a quadratic just to see how the curve would fit. And we'll try that fit. And there it goes. It actually gives me a fairly decent fit there. And I'm looking for something that's really close to 0. These coefficients, of course, stand for various things. And the more important one is the A coefficient, because that would tell me what half my acceleration is. Okay, so there's that. So I can do a curve fit, linear fit. Let's look at another tool that we can do. This would be to switch over to velocities. So if I wanted to look at the y velocity, you can see that this looks like kind of a straight line. Okay, straight line on a velocity time graph is actually going to tell me my acceleration. So again, if I do a linear fit of that exact same range, you can see that this is my 1.492 meters per second. That was my acceleration. So that's how much I was accelerating as I was starting to walk. Okay, so that's a linear fit in this. You can see that when it gets up here to the top, it comes out a little more flat. This flatness of this should be telling me what my speed was, my constant speed. The last thing I may want to look at is if I have things going on in the y direction, I could then look and do the same thing on the y. Because I was looking at everything kind of in a line, really the only thing that I noticed here is that my shoulder shifted up and down as I was going through. So there wasn't much there. Again, there we go. So looking at it, that's kind of what we want to be able to do, is use this tool to find out what our constant speeds would be or what our accelerations were based on our motion in our video. This is the last one again, so that hopefully this gives you an introduction to video analysis.